Welcome, everybody. This is kind of the first of well, this is something new for us. And what I planned to do was have like 7 nights, and then, well, I'll tell the story a little bit. We started out, this was a meditation group that we would get together every week, and it's kind of evolved to this place where how do I say it? It's taking me a long time actually to get to this place where I think I might have something to share around the why for meditation. You know, the idea that we want to be present in the moment, that we would like to be truly available in each moment for life on life's terms, is not a unique idea, but I guess that what I wanted to do is to share what it is, in my opinion, that keeps us from being in that. So we're going to talk tonight about what prevents us from being here now. And because I can't actually tell anybody what being here now looks like, because I think nobody can. Because if we're talking about it, then we're not there. And but what we can do is talk about how we're not and when we're not here. And I really believe that how this connects to meditation is that if we have a practice and we sit for a certain time each day, that we grow accustomed to being in a quiet space, and we grow accustomed to connecting with the source or the moment. But it seemed to me that the whole idea of meditating to get into that space is like needs a little help. And so that's what we'll talk about tonight. But first, I thought what we'd do is let's just sit for 10 minutes, and we'll just kind of we'll I think everybody that's here, I pretty much know everybody, and we've all meditated. You meditate? Yes, yeah. So let's just do that without too much instruction, and we'll just take 10 minutes and sit for a bit, and then we'll talk about some of the benefits of meditation, what keeps us from being present in each moment, and how we can be nothing and nobody in that time, in that space. So if you close your eyes for a minute and just take a deep breath. Take a breath. The breath is just amazing. Anytime that we focus on the breath, we know that we're here. It's almost impossible. I think it is impossible to focus on the breath and be thinking at the same time. So the breath does bring us into the present moment. So with this little meditation, let's just breathe into our hearts. And just imagine that as we breathe into our hearts, that our hearts are expanding. And everybody in this room, as we're feeling our breath and our energy into our heart, and it expands, our hearts just fill the room with beautiful love and heart energy. Just fill the room. So we're just going to sit for 10 minutes, right, James? Because he's timing us. just come back. Wow. So, something has happened for me recently. Can you hear me over there? Something has happened for me recently, and it's kind of changed everything. I've spent probably the last almost 40 years trying to figure out what was going on on this planet, and what was happening for me, and why was I here, but I was always trying to fit it in the context of what should I be doing in the world, and instead of who was I being in the world, and it's interesting. I've been listening quite a bit lately to Eckhart. I've really enjoyed him, and a whole bunch of things have led up to this last little while where I ended up in taking an Enlightenment Intensive with Trevor Thibodeau and Mira and Black, and so I went and did this Enlightenment Intensive, and it's like 40 years to this moment where I'm sitting in this exercise that I swore I'd never do, because I had done a little bit of it years ago, 25 years ago, and it scared the hell out of me. And is anybody familiar with the Enlightenment Intensive?
I've heard of it. I've never done it though.
Yeah. Not for the faint of heart, but
I
you.
could do it. I would do it.
I know you would. Yeah, I know you would. So what happened was that I think I've been spending my life trying to figure out what did it mean to be present. Instead of really, what happened in the Enlightenment Intensive is that we spent 3 16-hour days sweeping away all of the stuff that was standing between me and being here now. I've been with teachers, I've traveled the world, I've done all kinds of things to have this, what I interpreted as a spiritual experience, which really, is a misnomer in a way, because, if anything's spiritual, then everything's spiritual, so this experience, you should see my bookshelf. I've been a student of this all my life, and one of my teachers years ago said, you cannot find it by looking for it, but you won't find it if you don't look for it. Kind of bullshit is that? So this moment of what Trevor in the Enlightenment experience calls, or Enlightenment Intensive calls, the direct experience happened. And when it happened, I realized that it's happened before, but I didn't recognize it before. I'd always thought it was, I used to actually compare it to my drug experience as a kid. When I would have this experience, and I would say, wow, it's like something's happening. Everything would get brighter, and colors would be, and I would think, and that was the only context I had was when I was a kid doing acid or MDA or mescaline, or fun mushrooms or whatever, but when it happened recently, I realized that I couldn't go back to living in the way that I had been living, and I realized that my story was false. I had this story about myself, And on an intellectual level, I'd known that, but on a real deep experiential knowing level, I'd never really got it, that I'm not who I thought I was. So, you know, that begs the question of who are we? And I think that, you know, for years I, you know, would say, well, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, you know, but I didn't really know what that meant. So really for the first time consciously, I found myself without my story, you know, not somebody's father, not somebody's friend, not not whatever, all the labels that I've had all my life, the biker, the Bali guy, you know, I was importing from Indonesia, or the tile guy was at a tile business, or, you know, all of these things, and I recognized, you know, they were gone, and it's and the only thing that was there was this stillness, and this nothingness. And now, when I listen to Eckhart, I get it. You know, I went to see Pamela Wilson a couple of weeks ago, and it was like I've been with Pamela, you know, a number of times, and on her weekends, and she's just there, and in her presence, and her love, but I got it, and this time it's like, wow, okay, so her embracing whatever was happening in each moment, whatever thing that people were, you know, whatever, if somebody would come and speak to her about a life situation, and she would just embrace it. She would say, oh, so what do you think that fear is telling you? And she would just drop into it. And so it just keeps expanding for me these last few weeks to this place of, I see how judgment keeps me from being present. And, you know, who do you think I judge? Yourself. Yes. But it's really subtle. It's a lot of, you shouldn't be thinking that, David, or you shouldn't be feeling that, David, or you shouldn't, do you know what I mean? Instead of just embracing what's happening in each moment. Like most of you know, all of you know, I think that I'm in a 12-step program, and one of the things it says in our program is that we living life on life's terms. But I never really got what that meant. It means that I'm really accepting each moment and being in each moment. But it was much easier for me to accept you, but awfully difficult and subtle on how I judge myself, and how I complain. What I wanted to talk about tonight was complaint. Seriously, you know, complaint.
The victim, that's been really up for me.
And imagine that it's really subtle, and that it just kind of, it's like a wave, and it says, you know, I mean, there's big complaint. Oh, I'm too tall, or I'm too short, or I'm, you know, my nose is too big, or you know, right? Yeah, I don't have any money, or I do have, you know, whatever. You know, she left me. There's big complaint. Yeah,
that's a big complaint.
I'm getting old, right? I mean, there's those are complaints that, you know, we kind of. But then there's this a much subtler complaint that can be with us, and the whole idea, I think, of knowing oneself on that level of, you know, say if we're just looking at complaint as a level that we want to explore, of knowing ourselves would be so that we could embrace it. You know, I was just talking about Pamela, and so, because as soon as I say, I judge myself for complaining, right? As soon as I judge myself for complaining, then I'm complaining about
Complaining.
And then there's no way out of complaint if I'm complaining about complaining. So I have, to see it. It's been really up for me. Last night I'm driving in my truck and it's black ice, and the truck is actually fishtailing down the Trans-Canada Highway, and I'm in complaint. A little bit, right? But it's subtle because the mind races to find things to blame for things. And that's for me, maybe not for the rest of you, but I've told the story a few times when I just recently broke my leg, just a little bit. But the miracle in that day, and Dave was there when it happened, is that it wasn't his fault. And in my past, my complaint would be so big that I would immediately want to blame somebody for this, So the motorcycle fell, we were on the trailer, the motorcycle fell, I fell with it, and it just wasn't there. A little bit. It was there a little bit, but only enough that it came up, and it's like ego, right? It's like it came up and it looked around. Who to blame, right? And I had the pleasure of being present enough to say, no, not him. And there was a friend was there, no, not her. And James wasn't there. No, not him. But for a minute though, the mind wanted to blame him for being, what took him so long? Why wasn't he there? So, but it's interesting how subtle it is. And what I was hoping to do tonight, I'm thinking that we're going to do 7 nights of this, and is really go kind of deep into a different thing each evening. That we can identify as one of the things that keeps us from being present. So, would we all agree that complaint keeps us from being present?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's that it's even though I've tried for 25 years to live in this idea of gratitude, and mostly what I was doing with gratitude was trying to manage complaint. Does that make sense? It was like a trick. I was trying to
fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it.
Well, kind of, yeah. And making gratitude lists or all of that. Those are all great things, but it didn't allow me to actually see that I was living in complaint. Do you know what I mean? So I've done a lot of those things. I've done a ton of things over the years to try to make my life work, and without actually recognizing that I haven't been there. I'm always, wanting things to be different, wanting things to be different is like complaint, right?
Yeah.
And
I do that, want things to be different.
yeah, and so how can I be there if I'm wanting things to be different? And even if I'm writing a gratitude list for all the things I have to be grateful for, it didn't seem to have the power to be able to bring me into real acceptance of the moment. It was like a Band-Aid, and it didn't have the I didn't feel it. Yeah. So, complaint. Any examples of complaint?
Getting old, I identified with that one.
Getting old. Isn't that funny? Not from where I'm sitting.
Yeah. It's all relative.
Yeah, that's right. Anybody else?
Going bankrupt?
Nice.
Yeah.
Exciting. but yeah, it's again, it's something that we're, you know, I know that experience, and like intimately, and it's really easy for the mind to come up and blame, you know, the economy, right? To, you know, that whatever. I mean, especially if you live in Alberta, there's lots of things that, you know, the mind will want to blame for that, isn't there? Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
I've been watching more subtle complaints.
Yes.
You're talking about, like this weekend, I was judging myself for something and then judging somebody else or questioning their intention as well. So it was very subtle because I could have just been present and just accepted what was happening, but I was like, oh, why is this happening? Or what am I doing in that spot? Like, why am I doing this?
So awareness.
It was a subtle complaint, but I recognize that I do that a lot.
Yeah.
In a lot of situations.
You analyze the
Yeah,
situation,
it's
so do I.
So I recognize that it pulled me out of such a beautiful experience that I got to experience, because, I mean, I didn't stay in it for very long, but I recognized where I was going. So I like pulled myself away from that really quickly so that I could be in a place of gratitude and enjoy that moment in that experience, because that's where the magic's at.
Nice. Puyo, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I find that there's like, I was funny, I was considering the same topic myself, like a lot of my suffering is self-created, and how it's all created by my definitions and judgments, and definitions are, you know, things are a certain way, but my ego has another idea of how things should be. And it's like, it's completely insane, and we don't actually look at this. Like, I don't look at it consciously, and it's completely insane, because before, when I, let's say, was less aware, I was constantly judging the world around me of how they should be other than that. And now that I'm particularly like more aware and have a degree of freedom, now I'm judging them on how everybody else should be like me, how they're unenlightened or ignorant or stupid, you know. And then it's like an ongoing thing. And then there's another side, is that they need to know, like my mind always needs to know what's next, how to prevent pain, how to give more joy. It's like a 24 hours.
So that's, you're thinking that for you or for them? For
everybody.
Yes.
For me, for them, everyone. I mean,
Yes.
the other people living their life, I have an idea of how they should be living.
So what's interesting, I think, is that what if there isn't anybody else? You know, the idea of if we are really natural, like a tree is natural, you know, can you imagine that the tree is saying, damn those other trees, you know, taking up the sun,
Right?
you know,
Right.
sucking up all the water.
I know, I feel this, like wanting everyone to love each other more, you know?
Well,
Oh.
I know, but just listen to this just for a second. Just breathe. Breathe just for a minute. Yeah, just breathe. Just breathe. You know, because I think that where we fool ourselves is we look at our lives, you know, and say, okay, am I having the life I wanted, or is it working? You know, and because we can go over top of what's happening and miss it, that we can like we can fool ourselves.
I do it every day.
Yeah, and so I'm getting it more strongly that others, you know, what's happening, you know, for James or for my friend who just left, is not my business. It's just not my business. And that when I'm thinking about how they should be, I'm fucked. I'm just fucked. And I'm doing the same thing to them as I do to me, you know, and in essence, I'm trying to manage, and I can't manage. You know, if I'm trying to run the show, if I'm trying to orchestrate and direct, it doesn't work. You know, but what I wanted to talk about, you know, tonight and through the 7 weeks is what are the things that I do that keeps me from being connected to this moment. And complaint is one of them. Complaint is, and it's so subtle. And if we, you know, go out of here tonight when we leave, we spend this next week just looking at where, you know, even having a notebook and writing down, you know, so that we become aware, where do I complain? When am I in complaint? You know, what am I in complaint about? And I mean, it's pervasive. It's in, you know.
Even just a check mark. Oh, complain.
Yeah. Complaint, yeah.
Yeah.
Fake check marks.
Yeah.
Easy, you don't have to write what you're thinking about, just write a check mark
Let's
there.
compare next week.
See how many times you do it.
So we complain about the weather, right? And we complain about, I mean, right. So it's interesting.
Like,
Can
But-
I just make a comment?
Yes.
It feels like we live in a complaint culture.
Well, we
You know,
we
even in
do.
these past elections, it was,
Yeah.
it was
But it's not a complaint culture. It's actually a complaint. When we're living from our mind, we're always going to be in complaint. We live. That's the world that we would like to maybe transcend. To be so, if we're attached to our labels, or you know, our ideas of who we think we are, it's never going to be enough. So we're always going to be in complaint. So you've hit it. It really is. If you go to, you know, I travel to Indonesia, it's the same there.
yeah, it's humans.
Unless they've awakened. Unless they're really know that they don't know.
so if we're all connected and we're all one,
Mhm.
and the majority of people are in a complaint mindset,
Mm-hmm.
then we're going to gravitate towards. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, it has nothing to do with them, other than what you said, that it seems like a complaint culture. But again, it's always back to you or to me. How am I living in that culture? How am I being in that? And I'm the complainer that I'm concerned about. You know, I'm the complainer that I want to get to know. If the idea of know thyself is so that I can surrender and let go of that, you know, and pray to have it taken away, whatever that means, you know, to be more present. So knowing myself, it really isn't. Well, what I discovered in the intensive is that I always thought that somehow I just kind of get there, you know, I'd awaken into this bliss. But when I'm carrying all of the stuff, in our 12-step program we call it the wreckage of the past, but that's only just the past. But I have that wreckage every day, you know, when I'm in complaint. Damn, I get home and I had somebody clean my house and they broke something. You know, the toilet was broken as well and they didn't flush. and I just watched this stuff come up, you know, last night at 1:30 in the morning that I had to, you know, make my bed. Anyway, so, but it's complaint. And we're pretty happy with complaint because it keeps us, what's the benefit of complaint?
Well, we have a joy limit. We have a limit. There's actually a thing called the joy limit.
No.
Yeah,
That's
so-
bullshit.
Well, that's why we have to rewire our brain and get
Well,
out of complaint.
that's
and get
bullshit.
aware. You don't think so?
No, that's
have
bullshit.
you not noticed we have a complaint culture?
I understand.
Why do we have a complaint culture?
I understand.
'Cause we-
But there is no
Pushing,
culture.
to push
There's no,
the-
that's outside of you. Nothing outside of you is that we're looking for. Nothing outside of us is that. You know, that's our ego saying that that something outside of me has created me. It can't be. And it'll keep us in that place because we believe that we're not responsible. We have a joy culture.
I'd like to share on that. The more I'm present and the more I'm not in complaint and the more I'm centered, whoever I spend time with changes. They shift as well. I see them from a different perspective. I was trying to fix a garage door today and I was so present that I didn't even realize that it was shitty, because it wasn't. I was just doing it and being in it and spending time with somebody that I don't spend time with, and even just being there, it was just, time just stopped. It just was.
So, I mean, that's a great example, and I hear you, and you've been living lately not in so much complaint. But I think, though, the trap is to imagine that any solution is outside of you, or that the problem is outside of us.
Yeah.
If that was the case, we could just lock ourselves in a room and we'd be in bliss. But that doesn't happen.
So you had to pee.
Because what would be in the room with us?
Me.
Yeah, our mind, our conditioned beliefs about ourselves, you know, and we'd be unhappy campers because we're generally in complaint and unhappy campers, you know, and that doesn't mean that things at one level aren't working. You know, we have this idea that that we're okay because some things are working, or because things are better than they were last week, or last.
You shared something earlier with me about acceptance
Mm-hmm.
of the moment.
What was that?
Changing the tire.
Yeah. That was. I was listening to Eckhart on the weekend, and Eckhart said that there was 3 ingredients to get to doing, and one of them was acceptance, and the other one was enthusiasm, and the other one was to enjoy, and so whatever it is we're doing in our lives, like say that JR's working at the hospital, and you know, and if she goes there with enthusiasm every day, it's like, wow, she's really making a difference. But if she goes there without enthusiasm, by the way, is I think it's Greek or Latin from enthuso, which is God within. Enthusiasm is God within, and so we're going there in the spirit of, you know, and Eckhart was saying the other thing, he said, if you might have to change a tire on a car at night in the rain. Hard to be enthusiastic, but then we can be accepting. But all of these things are the other side of complaint, aren't they? You know, because complaint and enthusiasm don't go in the same jar, or complaint and acceptance don't go in the same jar. And you know, and if we're actually doing something that we love or we enjoy, you know, so those are the things, the little ingredients that he said that makes stuff work on this planet. You know, if we're there, whatever it is that we're doing, if we're there with enthusiasm, acceptance, or joy, then it has, and it was his little story about the whole thing. And I think, I mean, what do we want? I think we all want to get to this state of love, don't we? The unconditional love, and we talk about it a lot. But what I really wanted to do tonight was go deep into this idea of complaint, so that we could think about it, you know, and maybe what do you do when you write things down? You journal a little bit of this week, just, you know, how much of my time is in complaint? What am I complaining about? And feel it, you know, and We complain again about our exes. Anybody got any exes? No, yeah, you know, we do. Or we complain about men or women, right? Or whatever. Dogs barking. and
Kids screaming.
damn old car, this damn old car, you know, not having money or whatever. So it literally keeps us from being in the moment. So can we do that this week? We'll kind of talk about that, or dialogue that a little bit. See when I'm in complaint, and you know, whether it's about the economy or that job I don't have, or the people I have to work with, you know, or God, buggers not paying attention to me, you know, and all of it though generally is outside of us. To just watch that it's not, you know, when we actually sit and we're in a meditative state and we drop in, there's no complaint, you know.
With complaint and meditation to be in the moment, for myself, it's important for me to understand what kind of complaint it is. If it's in the past, complaint equals judgment, or what have I done with my life? I had so many great opportunities and I didn't take that. And then complaint in the moment, like this person's pissing me off. Usually it's something that I do twice as much as someone else does, so it's like I'm pointing a finger at them, but it's 10 fingers pointing at me. And it's also a complaint of my needs and wants and what I can't have. So with meditation in the moment, I'm trying to find some joy and simplicity.
Yeah.
And I break that down to, say, for example, just like a tribes member in a third world country, if he doesn't have much to look forward to with money or like within the country, and his only job is to provide for his family, you know, if he looks around his family members at the fire that night and his kids' bellies are full and his kids are smiling, you know, then he could complain about the day, could complain about what he doesn't have in the moment, and complain that he doesn't have wood for the next day or food for the next day. But you know, I just try to find joy just in the simple things, and that way I can live more in the moment with meditation and, you know, get rid of those past, present, and future complaints.
Well, and I totally agree that's like a technique,
Yeah.
But generally what happens to us is that we want these things to happen outside of us, the new car or the new job or the even the contentment of being able to look after our family, but that seems to be short-lived. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have the depth of a connection with, you know, that's beyond complaint. I don't know how to describe it, but no matter where in my life I was always looking for more. And there's the possibility, you know, through a connection with like we talk in our program about a connection with a higher power, you know, and that feeling of having how we talk about in the 12-step program as a spiritual experience or an awakening, you know, we're skyrocketed into the fourth dimension, that goes deep, and it's beyond what's happening outside, and that's, I think, what if I can be so bold to think that many of us would like to have that. I feel like I looked for it my whole life. I just never got, you know, I was never that accepting as I feel in this moment. And I was always, you know, it didn't matter who I married. It didn't matter, you know, how much money I had, or it wasn't didn't fill me up. And I think though that for most of us it seems to be, it's almost like a curse that we're gonna, I'm not that optimistic.
No, but it's inner peace. We're getting there. Like, you're talking about inner peace. I have the 12 symptoms of inner peace. And it says that one, to stop judging self and to stop judging others. When
Yes.
you're more peaceful.
Well,
It just happens.
And that's what we're talking about. But how do I say it? So for me to have it, there's an experience that happened that, all the books, and I've read them all. You come look at my library, it's huge, and
I know, we've talked about this. We're studiers of the spiritual
Yes,
path.
yes,
instead
yes.
of being the path.
Yes,
There
yes.
you go.
But
Right.
yes, it is. I don't know how to share that if we get to know ourselves enough, not outside of us of all the things we're supposed to be, but we actually get to know that number one, we're full of complaint
It's true.
and judgment and fear. And so all of the things that we read it won't clean that away. It won't clean that away. My experience is that through meditation and prayer and a lifetime of kind of searching to make this connection, it seems to me, I look at it and I think, my God, is that it? That was so simple. But it seemed that I had to spend my whole lifetime to, this last 40 years for it to happen. And I think I really worked hard at it. And I look around and either folks don't even know it's available. It doesn't matter how many little stories we get on Facebook. Either folks don't know it's available, or don't believe it can happen for them, or are just we're so caught up in the day to day outside of us, paying the bills and. But when I started out, I was talking about trees, because the tree is. I don't know. Maybe trees complain, but I don't think they do. Does anybody think trees complain? I don't think they do. So, pardon me?
Only the Wizard of Oz.
Yes. So generally, though, trees are not a complainer. Or in the Bible somewhere it said the lilies of the field. It talks about that. So, if we're the same, in a way, as a tree, in the sense that we're a creation on this planet, and that we can actually have that same peace, that we can recognize that there's nothing around us there's nothing, we are exactly where we're supposed to be in this moment.
Everything's perfect.
Everything's perfect. Yes.
Just
But
acceptance of wherever I'm at in this moment.
mm-hmm.
If I'm stuck in traffic, that's where I am at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And just accept it and look at the beauty in all
So
of
maybe you've all had this experience, and I just think that I'm, got there. Maybe you're living it.
It's hard.
It's every
Maybe
day.
like brief seconds of the day, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember, you forget, you remember, you forget. Like, you wake up, you wake up, you wake up. Some people don't even know there's a path, and then you learn there's a path, and then there's like, and you had a meeting with the divine. Like, I have that every time I do Vipassana. It's like this.
You do Vipassana?
No, I came and did a show. I did it in an interview with you about Vipassana.
How many times have you done Vipassana?
8 times.
8 times?
Because I need it, because
You-
I'm a reactive woman.
Oh, oh
It
wow.
helps.
That's-
Meditation helps.
That's
right?
amazing.
Yeah. I want you to do it.
I'll do it.
Yes.
Yeah, I got to do it now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Have you done it?
No.
No, we talked about that the other night, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to do it too.
Yes, go get it. I want to go live there long term maybe and help out. Go. I'll
Uh-huh.
serve all you guys. I'll get everyone to come. That'd be such a good movement. Get everyone to come to Vipassana.
Yeah.
They'd love me.
So Vipassana, do you know what it is? It's a 10-day It could be longer too, couldn't it? Or is it just 10 days?
You can, but you need to start with the 10, yeah.
Okay. So a 10-day
Silent.
silent, like totally silent meditation,
Meditate 10 hours a day.
10 hours a day. Does that scare anybody? Yeah.
It should, 'cause it's hard.
I'm also into it a lot. I love it.
Say again?
I'm also a big fan of Vipassana.
Have you done it?
Yes.
How many times?
I can maybe say 7 or 8 or 9.
Stop it.
Yeah. I do it every year.
Wow. Scares the hell out of me.
It should. It's
Yeah.
very scary. It's hard.
We're going to go together?
December.
Pardon me?
Going to New Year's, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's the best thing is just to be cleansed.
So,
Detox.
of a couple of things that like one of my teachers, my main teacher in my life was Paul Lowe, and Paul has for years said that the Enlightenment Intensive is like it's the lightning way to awakening, but he also says that the 10-day Vipassana has the power to bring us truly into the moment, and so lots of stuff must come up. Mm-hmm. Nice. So
Nowhere to run but you.
yes, so we're going to pay attention to complaint.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
We're
Going.
going to complain as much as possible, right, David?
I think.
Let's like extra
Yes.
complain it. Let's like make it a thing.
Lean into it.
Yes,
Yeah,
bitch.
just bitch.
Oh,
Yeah.
weak.
No. Okay. Yeah.
Because then we're going to stop. We're going to become all, ooh, enlightenment. We're going to stop.
Yes.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Let's go out with a bang.
Yeah. Well,
Bitch bang.
we don't want to make it wrong. That's for sure, right?
No, don't
No.
judge it when you do it.
Yes. Just do it. Yeah. And you guys too. Complain all week, and make notes of it. And come here next week. We're going to. Actually, tonight's not the night for introduction to meditation. Look at this room. How many other people have done Vipassana? Well, wow. You did the 10 days?
So I've done the Vipassana, I've done the Enlightenment Intensive. Both the experiences, there's been a shift for me.
Oh, yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that if you've done those things, if people who've done those things are, this is a judgment, sorry, it's a judgment, but I think that they're reasonably serious spiritual students, students of life, either that or in so much pain, who are looking for, how the hell do I get out of this pain, Eckhart talks about those, some of us come with, amazingly huge pain bodies, but those folks actually sometimes wake up lots of, because we hurt so much.
A guy from Vipassana said to me in India, and he read The Power of Now, and he said, now I know how to do the power of now after Vipassana.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Or be the power of now.
Mm-hmm. I just was. I drove home yesterday, and 6 hours of the New Earth.
Oh, yeah, that's the best book.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah. Are you leaving? Tell us why you're leaving.
I wake up really early and I really am dedicated to my routine.
And,
Let's go do Vipassana.
Yeah.
Puya wakes up at 4.
Actually, this week is at 3. I did 4 for about 35 days and I just love it so much and I just actually upgraded it to 3 so now I can do yoga.
And you're living on what, like 6 hours sleep, 5 hours sleep?
Actually, no, yeah, around there, but then I fast by like noon so that way I can actually, it's so much better.
So how many hours are you meditating in the morning?
About 2.5 or 3. Yeah.
Wow.
Minimum 2, some days is 3, some days is... Some days, but it's usually that, but I'm not on a path for the past month and a half.
How are you making out with loving your roommates?
That's the thing, right? It's actually a really beautiful reminder. I was listening to Hawkins, one of his books. He was talking about like the first is our own practice, the second is devotion towards our immediate family. Devotion, because these people are like in our lives for a reason.
Yes.
You can't get rid of our people that are blood related. You can quit your job or you can leave a partner, but you can't necessarily, leave your mother or leave your family.
His roommates are his family, mom and dad, and which is so cool.
I have a big family, a Persian family. Like I live with 7
Well, you want to move to town, you can live with James and I.
Is that?
Huh?
You want to move to town, you can live
Yes.
with James and I. He doesn't live in the
Also
city.
graduated from this school of immediate family. It's still working for me, and it's quite beautiful.
Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
I appreciate your support.
Yeah, and I just wanted to lastly say the complaint piece. I feel like the complaint is kind of like a program that we picked up by our culture. So it's not like for me when I'm contemplating it, it's not the complaint that causes suffering. It's forgetting who we are.
Well, of course, but we're going to get there. You know,
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're getting there. We're just going to, spend some of this time over the next few weeks identifying where we're stuck. If we're stuck in complaint, and so that we can then surrender some of that to who we are. But I mean, every culture complains, right? And so it is kind of a roadblock to being here now, so yeah. Thank you. You come next week?
Yes, thank you everyone.
All right, love you. What time is it?
8.
Is it 8 o'clock? So, anybody have anything they'd like to add to complaint?
Complain about that's next week. Come and complain next week.
No.
I've been thinking about this like pretty much every day, all day, nonstop, working the program.
Yeah.
And for me, it comes down a lot to just acceptance of people, places, and things.
Mm-hmm.
Complaint and judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And that also comes down to expectations. And I know that when I have expectations, then, like, say, for example, even just as simple as coming here tonight, maybe I had a couple expectations in my head and going to meetings and stuff like that, and I always walk away usually selfish and self-centered because I have complaint and judgment, and I think to myself, well, I didn't get anything out of that. So that's really what I'm working on. So this is great.
Nice. And of course, if you feel complaint and judgment, and you see it, then that's the gift, isn't it? And
You're on the path if you're doing that.
yeah, you really are. If you can see it, instead of like going deep into fuck them.
Yeah, right. Then you're really far down the path.
Yeah. So, but yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So, about meditation. Every teacher that I've spent time with over the years and everything I've ever read encourages us to have a practice. And like Puyo meditating, did you say 3 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2, do that, 3.
Which is serious practice.
That's Vipassana at home. That's insane. People don't do that.
Serious practice. So, but often we're so caught in our complaint of what we think we don't have, or what we think we're going to lose, that our mind, who's running the show, ego, says, no, you don't have time for that. And what I want to say is that if we take that time to sit in the morning, to do our meditation, and I call it prayer, to communicate with whatever it is that we believe is, the source, the quantum field, whatever, God, universal intelligence, whatever it is that you think is the thing that we're connecting with, the moment, it, and we have that communication. When we focus there, I know. If any of you ever skied, everybody's skied, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're skiing, where you look is where you go, right? Mm-hmm. You look this way, you look that. I was with somebody the other day and I brought this example up and he said, well, no, but I mountain bike. Same thing. You're on your mountain bike. If you look here, that's where you go. Mm-hmm. So the same thing happens with awakening. If we take the time to focus, to look towards that the quantum field, whatever again you believe is that intelligence, that's where we go, and we're lifted up. And as we lift up, we're actually lifted out of complaint. And in my belief, we can't muck around in complaint and fix anything, but we can be lifted out of it. And as we focus on our connection, our spiritual connection, or on love, and love, by the way, is an action word. So service. So we're focused on service and helping others and caring for others. Then we forget about ourselves, and we move out of complaint. We move into love and unconditional love and into joy. So I really highly recommend a daily practice so that happens. The miracle, right? But it's not a miracle. It's law. It's universal law that we, and as we move up, then we let go of all of our identities. We become like our friend Blair's bringing a movie to town. Ram Dass's movie, and so we become nobody with nothing. And no problems, because we're actually focused on love, so that's the beauty of a practice, and also a beauty of a life of service, is that we get to move into the higher realms, and those things drop away. Our problems drop away, our regrets drop away, our fears drop away as we move up. And it's not really up, but you know what I mean. And we move into this love, and it's why people go to India and they come back and they sell all their $1 million worth of stuff and they give it all away and they go to work, helping people in the streets, because they recognize that that's where the real pay is, and that the real awakening is in that place, and but our conditioning's pretty, it takes. But these are great times. I just want to say these are great times. The world is changing. I believe it is changing around us in a huge way. And the internet has so much content is available for so many people. And William James talked about awakening of an educational variety. So we can kind of read and listen to podcasts and watch YouTube videos of amazing teachers, the most amazing teachers of the planet. I just want to tell you, on my trip to Vancouver, I listened to 6 or 7 hours on the way out of Joe Dispenza. I love Joe. Do you know Joe? No. Oh, he's amazing. And he really, he's really, he's a scientist. He's really into science. He's a scientist, but he's a doctor, but it's all spiritual. It's really, really cool. Joe Dispenza, and then on the way back, David Hawkins for about 3 hours, and then about 6 hours. So you can just immerse yourself in these amazing teachers, right? And you don't have to go to India anymore, and not that there's anything wrong with going to India, but
it's a good way too, though. It's
yeah,
the same as the book.
Yeah. So if you're watching this, I invite you to come next week, and we'll, I think being with like-minded people, and people that are interested in or passionate about awakening, and living a life of service. I think that's the deal. We're not all going to be Mother Teresa, but it's possible. So what I thought we'd do is we'd finish with a meditation. Does anybody have anything they want to add before we finish? No complaints?
No complaints, David. I have to.
Yes?
For me, complaints are rooted in the desire for something other than what's happening now.
Yeah.
And it can be something as soft as just like unsatisfactoriness of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Temperature.
Mm-hmm.
And in every other sort of path or journey, it's often you're achieving goals by grasping and reaching for them. And that this journey seems to be one that you get further along, the less you grasp, and the more you let go. Yeah, that's all I had to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's beautiful, isn't it? You know, Blair was just saying that, you know, our whole context shifts from what's in it for me to, you know, how can I serve? How can I surrender? How can I let go? How can I be, instead of trying to be somebody, how can I be nobody? You know, and if our context changes to that, then we're much less complaining about ourselves, because we just are. You know, and I think we slow down, and hopefully we're in less trouble. You know, I think we just slow down.
We notice our thoughts. When
Yes.
we slow down, right?
Yes.
Like, oh, there I go again.
10 vipassanas.
8.
8. Wow.
The complaint can affect our body in so many ways too, our health. I was today, just to share of that, working out in the garage on that garage door opener. My father-in-law, he said, "Are you cold?" And right away I was like, "Oh, I am cold." And then my hands got really cold.
Yeah.
But the instant I stopped thinking about the coldness and just be present with what I was doing, my hands stopped being cold. I worked 3 hours without gloves on, touching metal, holding metal things all day, and I wasn't cold. But the instant I thought about it and thought about the complaint of cold, my hands got cold.
Mm-hmm.
Create with our thoughts. It's true.
It's very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Watch what you complain about. You're creating a
It's
complaining
like being
about.
sick. I'm sick.
Yeah.
The more
I don't do that.
It creates that. It holds that sickness tighter inside of us.
So let's focus though.
I just look at it. I'm like, there you go. Your nose is running. You just got to get some vitamin C in you, girl. You'll be fine.
Let's focus though, just for a minute, because again, what could happen is we drop into talking about the complaint. You know, yeah, I think we all would agree that complaint gives us more of what we're complaining about. It is what I was saying about the focus. You know, if I'm focused on, you know, something that I don't want, but that's what I get. In our 12-step book, it talks about fear sets in motion trains of circumstance, which later places us in position, you know, places we didn't think we deserve, or things happen. So what we fear, we bring about as well. So, so it's all really about that. But I can't manage my way out of complaint.
You can, though.
No, I can't. I really
Well,
can't.
you can start to notice yourself, and
Well-
that's a way to manage.
Well, then that's different.
It's a strategy, and it will work.
How's it working?
Well, you're meditating. You know it's working for all of us.
Well, I don't believe that.
You don't believe that as we notice our thoughts and complain more, that it's going to naturally default to complaining less as we notice those thoughts?
No.
We stop thinking more?
Absolutely no.
You don't think so?
No, I think that the whole purpose of why we're here and why you've gone to 8 meditation things is so that you can become lifted up. So it's not in the complaint where the change is made. It's in your being lifted up, so your connection with...
It naturally happens, yeah.
Yes, but it's not from managing the complaint, or it can be from noticing if we embrace it with love.
I could see meditation as a management system when you think about it. Like for moms would agree. Meditate will help you manage your children. It's just coming from like a logistic, logical stance of meditation.
Well, and I think logic, you know, takes us to a certain place. Yes, logic does, but I'm imagining we want to go past logic.
Obviously, yeah.
Yes, and yeah, I'm not going to let you get away with any shit here. Lovingly.
We won't let you get away with shit either, David.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm get away with shit on us.
I'm counting on you. Yeah, I'm counting on you. But so I think that the possibility, though, to move into unconditional love and into service, as opposed to managing whatever it is. I can't manage fear, you know, and I think that it took me a long time to figure that out, nor complaint. I have to be free of it. And to be free of it, I have to live at a higher level. And my higher level is unconditional love. And how do I get there? I believe through the practices, through meditation, through serving others, through, you know, having these spiritual experiences that whether it's educational or going to Vipassana, which I will do, or having the Enlightenment Intensive, or years of prayer.
And just being every moment. Every moment is a meditation, right?
It's cliche.
No, it's true though.
It is.
As you get out of your thoughts, you live a meditation. You do.
Yeah.
Life is a meditation. You just do.
Okay.
You know it. Don't you every day, all day go, oh, there I am thinking again. David, stop. And then back to breath. Okay, hello guys, here I am present. And then, oh, here I am not present, right?
No, I don't, but I think that's great that you do.
Live. Oh, I thought we all lived like that.
No, that's 8 times in a Vipassana. Just excuse me, does anybody else live like that?
Kind of.
Do you? Oh, Jared lives like that. Do you? Awesome. Well, I think that's 8 days, 8 times in Vipassana. I not so much, but thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think you should be doing these, sharing your wisdom.
I want to be here learning from you. You're amazing. Thank you. It's true. Thank you.
Awesome. So let's meditate for a few minutes, and that'll be our finish. Can we do that?
Yeah, how many?
How many? Timer guy has to set the timer.
15.
Okay.
And you guys.
17. Can we do 17? That's my number, please. It's all about numbers. It's very important. 8, infinity.
No, it's all bullshit, but that's okay. It's just all stuff. You know, you're caught in all this stuff. You know, these
Means nothing anyways.
belief systems. It's all in the numbers. We're going to meditate for 15 minutes, maybe 17, and because it's in the numbers. But we're going to turn you guys off, and I just want to say, because that's enough, right?
I don't keep going. They can sit and meditate with us too.
All right, James wants you guys to meditate with us. All right, okay, I'm with it. So we're going to sit for a minute. I'm going to do a little bit of a little bit of guided, and so that we can just kind of drop into our bodies and feel ourselves and be out of our heads and into our, you know, into our whole beings. But not very long, maybe just a couple of minutes of that, and then we'll. So join us. I'm going to suggest that we all just get in a really comfortable position, something that fits for you. Wow. I'm sure not used to being in this big chair. Just take a deep breath in through your nose. I'd just like you to imagine, as we breathe in, we're going to breathe in 3 or 4 times, that as the air goes into your lungs and into your heart through the oxygen, that it lights, it just becomes fluorescent, effervescent. And it actually, we breathe in and automatically all of that oxygen goes into every piece of our body, every extremity, right down to our toes. And we're just pumping this beautiful pink effervescent light through our veins, to our whole body, into our necks, to our shoulders. Just imagine each breath. The breath brings us into the moment. And as we breathe in, and the oxygen goes into our blood and lights it up, and it travels into every joint, into every ache and pain, to every tight muscle, into our abdomen, into our bellies, into our beautiful stomachs. We're sending love in this pink effervescent light through our whole body, Let's just thank our bodies for how beautiful they are and how they serve us. How sometimes we don't pay much attention to it and complain about it. But it's so beautiful, so perfect. Just feel this light flowing through every vein, returning back to the heart. Up into our brains. Just feel our whole head lighting up, expanding. As we meditate, as we breathe, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just imagine as our head is lit up with this effervescent pink light, that the light from it just expands out into the room, expands into the space, and we all connect in one heart, one beautiful light. And as we connect in this room, we connect with others all over the planet who are also sitting and meditating. We bring our love out of this church into the world. Just feel that connection, the oneness with everyone, as we sit and breathe and feel our bodies and our light all together. So thank you. Thank you for